to The Truth in This Art. I am your host, Rob Lee. Thanks for listening, and please continue to share, subscribe, review, and let folks know about this great podcast. Today, I'm in conversation with a violinist, instructor, and conductor from Richmond, Virginia. They are also the music director of the Petersburg Symphony Orchestra. Please welcome Naima Burrs.
Thank you so much, Rob. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Attention to detail. It's just perfect. 10 on 10. Sometimes I just go on autopilot.
All good.
So again, thank you for coming on. And this is it's a treat to kind of step outside of this kind of I know how to talk to visual artists. I know how to talk to radio people, but when you start getting into classical music and people who actually have refinement and culture, I'm like, oh, okay. I feel like I need to put a tie on right now.
Oh, come on.
I mean, you're over there with your blazer on and everything. Shout out to you. So before we get too deep into it, I want to get the story. What is the Naima Burrs story? Start off. Give us something. Where'd you grow up? What inspired you to pursue music? Earliest music experience? Things of that nature. Let us know.
Okay. Yeah. So you mentioned I'm from Richmond, Virginia. I grew up in, I guess I should say, the public school system. So I started violin when I was in the fourth grade in elementary school. But I think my earliest kind of exposure to music would definitely be through my mom, who is an opera singer, a soprano, and a college professor as well. So all of us, my siblings and I, grew up going to rehearsals and hearing lessons. And, she definitely encouraged and influenced us kind of on our musical paths. Although my oldest brother is a lawyer. So he did some music things and then he was like, nah, I'm going to go this way. My younger brother is a jazz guitarist and a cool up and coming band as well. So we definitely were influenced by my mom. My dad loved music and always encouraged it, but he wasn't an actual musician himself. So I grew up doing violin, started that. I started piano before violin. I just didn't like it at all. And I now today wish that I continued, especially as a conductor, because you need to do a little bit of that. But violin really caught my eye. And I always say, it's really kind of a sign of how important, public school music education is and the access for kids. Because as I said, I grew up with my mother singing, and I grew up going to orchestra rehearsals and, opera rehearsals and all of these things. But it wasn't really until the violin was right in front of me when the string quartet from the symphony of our town, Richmond Symphony, came and visited the schools and shared with us the instruments of the string quartet. And, being around it all the time, for some reason, still the string quartet coming made it feel so much more tangible. Like I could actually do that. Like I was just really close to it, and it was geared towards me appreciating it and me having access to it. So as soon as I heard the violin, I really remember going home like, Mom, I want to play the violin. And I mean, she was ecstatic, of course. Of course, she wanted me to do that. So that's really where it started. And just having that experience from these professional musicians coming into the school and just introducing it to us in a way that was casual, but intimate, in a way that we felt as though we could actually be a part of that. I kind of resisted a bit going into the music thing. I did it, all through high school, but up until senior year, I was pretty good at math. I was always ahead in math, and I thought I was going to be an engineer, and that's what I was going to do. And I had a conversation with my orchestra teacher at the high school I went to at the time, Appomattox Regional Governor School in Petersburg here. And she mentioned, we had a talk about, it was at the end of senior year, and we kind of had a talk about our future plans, what we're going to do. And, she asked me a bit, what are you going to do when you go to college? I was like, I'm going to be an engineer. I'm doing this. And she's just like, wait, hold on a second. And, I remember this conversation with her. It was so, meaningful at the time. But in retrospect, when you think about your mentors and you think about those moments that really meant something to you as you're trying to mentor people and, give them information that'll help them, she mentioned something to me that, some people are artists and they have something that's very special to share with the world, and they have a way of connecting with people, and it's kind of a talent, and it's something that you should really hold close to you. So it's okay if you're passionate about being an engineer, if that's where your passion is. It's not just that you want to make a lot of money, right? Are you passionate about doing that? Or are you afraid to be passionate about this thing that that you have, a deep calling for?
Sure.
And I remember leaving that meeting with her and I was like, I'm going to music school. Okay. It was like a transformative conversation because, my mom is a professional musician, and just naturally as a teenager, you're kind of like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I want to do that because you already do that. And it's just, but she kind of opened it up for me in a way that if you're passionate about this, don't be afraid of pursuing it, kind of. So, I ended up going to undergrad for violin, and I went on later to do my master's in violin as well in Iowa, and always had an interest in conducting. So I had a wonderful, first of all, in middle school, had an amazing conductor who was our strings teacher, an African-American woman, Christy Jo Robinson, Miss Adams now, Christy Jo Adams, and incredible violinist, incredible conductor. And I was, just so inspired by her. Went to college, had an amazing mentor and conductor, a few, Daniel Misick and Aaron Freeman, in my time in undergrad, then Rebecca Burkhart out in Iowa. So I had these teachers that, I was focusing on violin, but I was always really inspired by my relationships and mentorship from these conductors that I had, and did some studying there. So just kind of decided to go for it when I wanted to do my doctorate. I was like, there's no better time than now, really. And my teacher at Catholic really took a chance because I had no deep conducting experience besides some courses. But he, I had a couple videos, and he thought that, maybe I might be able to do something with it. So he said, yes, well, let's get you started here. And that's kind of the short story of how I've kind of gotten to where, what I'm doing now, but a lot of layers there for sure.
Some people, their story is like an onion. Some is like a croissant or croissant. Yeah. Just layers, delicious, buttery layers. And I like one of the things that you said early on. I like, that you shared that. And thank you for sharing like that abbreviated, abridged version of the story. But it's definitely that access piece. That's the thing that sticks out to me, where I remember, and I joke about it, like I'm self-taught in this lane. Doing podcasting for 13 years. It's not like I had someone. I had people that I listened to, but it was kind of like, all right, what are the other things that I can compare this to? Public speaking, storytelling, and crafting a show, presenting, things of that nature. And now they're a thing. And I'm a person that's like trying to help people get their thing off and tell their stories and such. And one of the things that comes to mind is years ago, I just remember doing, like, as I joke about, 4 hours of free radio, and it was at a high school. And the purpose of it was showing, the young folks that were there, the children that were there, are coming through to see someone that's tangible, that's in the studio, no locked doors. And it's like, yo, I could do that. That was the point of it. And I'm just like not recognizing it at the time, but seeing it now in kind of retrospect, it's like, oh, no. Maybe a few podcasters, maybe a few people in radio kind of grew out of that. And, speaking with folks afterwards who are in the industry, it's like, wow, you really have great breath control, and just give me all of these technical things that is self-taught, and, that thing that you touched on about having that access and having like the violin's right there, and just seeing it and it's approachable. That's really cool, really powerful.
For sure. It's right there. And 100%. And I think about so many kids that I mean, I grew up in a musical household. I grew up with a mom that's the profession. I mean, like I said, I went to all these things, but it just shows you how important it is for us to kind of take it out of that kind of formal setting and to really just bring it to you for the purpose of showing you, the kids, like, this is for you. It's not you just kind of observing what's happening, but like, look at this. You're right here. You can touch it. You can feel it. You can hear it close on the vibrations. Like, you're right here in the room with it for the purpose of us sharing it, really with you. And so I think of kids who don't have the experience of going to rehearsals from the age of 3 and whatever, tagging along with their mother, that it's so important there. And it's so important for someone who did, was able to kind of go to rehearsals or whatever. It really, the access is just important all around, 100%.
So it kind of is a natural segue to this part towards the end. We were talking about the conductor portion before we dove back in. So talk me about what is it about your personality that meshes so well with being a conductor? And yeah, so that's the thing I want to know, what have you, because like, people confuse me regularly. It's like, oh, you're definitely a type A personality. Oh, you're so outgoing. I was like, I'm shy and weird, and I look for places to hide in public spaces.
That's a good question. When it comes to music and this, I love the attention to detail. I love picking things apart and putting them together. But I think most of all, and for the reason I enjoy it so much, is just kind of the sense of community and everybody coming together to kind of work together to create this whole, whatever it is, right? And whatever type of ensemble you're working with, if it's a community group or if it's a professional group, or starting from where you are, whatever the group starts at, and finding a way to improve it, to make it better, to make it the best that it can be. And it's so funny, when I was at PSO rehearsal last week, Petersburg Symphony, my principal bassoon came up to me. He was like, "It's so wonderful that you're a patient person." And I said, "What do you mean?" He was like, "You are a patient. And I'm like, okay, like, I take it 100%, because, that's part of it as well. Like, having the personality where you want to work with people, and it's not that you want to be a dictator and you want to just tell people how it's done and this is my way and it's really coming in. And so many of my mentors that I look up to really have, tried to explain kind of what's important about conducting is finding a way to make people perform in the best way that they can. And that's by having them feel comfortable to be, comfortable to perform, comfortable to play their instruments, and to produce the best sounds possible, and really just allowing that to happen and kind of bridging between sections and making sure that you're connecting people and kind of being that person in between. So I hope that that's kind of what I do with the ensembles that I work with, because that's what I enjoy the most about it.
So process. I don't even know how this even applies, but describe like your current process, like any part of it, because you like to pull things apart, pick things apart, and get to the details. So what is that current process for getting into the mindset of making or conducting music? Let's talk about that a bit.
There's a lot that goes into, so it's so interesting as a conductor versus a violinist. Because I still do a good deal of violining and have students here that I teach violin and such. And, the way in which we approach music as musicians is always really, like I said, kind of picking apart, figuring out the elements and what it's made up of, learning the historical parts, where the composer's from, what their influences are, where were they in their life when they wrote this specific thing, where were they in the world when they wrote this specific thing, like just getting as much information as possible, which is something I teach the conducting students, to really delve into the music and figure that stuff out too, so that your interpretation is informed by that, but also, the violin students as well. But I think with conducting, because we're standing in front of an ensemble and needing to know what everyone's doing at any given time, like the amount of analysis to understand the score beyond the historical side, right? But just understanding like the form, as well as like cueing analysis, like entrances of whoever's playing at what time, as well as like harmonic analysis, knowing the chords and knowing the way in which the piece is shaped that way. So many analyses and so much time goes into understanding a score. And it's kind of one thing that can make it a little bit daunting, but that I like that my current teacher really kind of helps that when you're younger in the conducting world and you're studying and you're trying to just figure things out. One thing is that he always reminds us is that it's kind of a lifelong quest. So things that you find in a score, when you return to it, because most of the time you're playing repertoire, you're going to repeat it throughout your career. When you return to it, you'll find different things, right? Yeah. So it's layers of experience that come when you return to something. So you do your analysis and all of that, the phrase structure and all of those things probably won't change that much, though maybe you'll come up with some cool idea that you might approach or use when you're returning to it. But I think just the idea that it's always kind of going to be this layered experience. And my other teacher was talking about the fact that if you return to a score and you don't think, 5 years later, you return to a score and you don't think your markings are weird, like, why would you do that? Then you haven't really developed much, right? You should always be evolving and always thinking like, I wouldn't do that there. That's funny. This is how I would do it, right? To show your growth, to show that, your opinion and your view of things is constantly changing. So, I think that what we do with the scores in the moment, there's certain analyses that we do as conductors all the time, just to know what's going on, to make sure when someone asks a question, you have the answer, all of that. But I think there's also the larger scale of analysis that kind of happens in layers, kind of in your lifetime or of your lifetime, that makes it really interesting.
That actually just created a new question I'm going to write down for a little later, but it caught my attention. I'm always at it. I tell people whenever I'm looking down or looking away, it's like I'm being pensive. I'm in it. Yeah. So I want to get this one from you. I'd like hearing about kind of uncommon influences that make a person better at what they do. So, like, I've talked to people say, I practice guitar and it makes me a better chef. I'm like, sure, let's talk about that. That's really interesting. So do you have any like uncommon influences that make you a better violiner? I like that that's the way it is. Or conductor. Tell me about that.
I mean, I guess so. I think that's a really good question. Certain interests, I think, can help kind of inform us. I think one that might be something that kind of can be a little bit related or not related, but can kind of help is I'm obsessed with tennis and I have been for a really long time. And the idea, there's this book called The Inner Game of Tennis, and the idea of how much our minds kind of affect what we're doing and how much kind of our mental space and the way in which we think about things is really can make or break what we do. And I think that idea of, being a tennis player versus being like a basketball player where you're on a team, right? And everyone has a position and this and blah, blah, blah. As a tennis player, like, is you. Like, and you might have a doubles partner, right, or whatever. But if you're playing singles, what happens and what kind of affects the way in which the game turns out is really kind of focused on what you put out and how you kind of approach the game. So this mindset, and I don't get to play much now, but in high school, like very much so, I found that they were very closely related. And I was doing violin and doing tennis heavily, like competing and doing a lot with violin in high school, and just being able to go back and forth between the two. I didn't realize until a little later in life when my teacher recommended this book that, oh, these are so closely related. And really just the way in which we think about ourselves and think about what we want to do and manifest kind of the lives that we want, I think is very much in line with both of those. So maybe that.
That's a very interesting observation and comparison.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
And this aligns to, I think, a bit what you were talking about when you return to music that you've done in the past and kind of seeing what the growth looks like. So I've read that music, whether it's classical even popular music, is a time capsule or setting of a mood. What does music represent to you? Hard-hitting questions. Always hard-hitting questions.
They are. These are deep. These are things I'm going to think about probably forever, but it depends. That's a loaded question. It's something we talk about, though. Like I teach music appreciation here at Virginia State as well. And approaching music, I guess, in a way where we have this one assignment that we do where we're dealing with the elements of music. So I'm teaching the kids, like, this is what rhythm is, this is meter, this is melody, this is harmony, just basic elements of music, literally foundational things, so that when we go through the time periods, we're able to hear the melody in the Baroque period. What is that like? Now, when we go to the classical period, what's the melody like? How do we compare them? And we kind of progress through time that way. And I think part of what we talk about there is really music is, no matter what the time period, really, that's probably what you're getting at too, is music is always, in art in general, is really a reflection of the time in which it's created, right? So what people were doing in the Baroque period, the music suits their activities and the things that they're doing during that time, right? Versus fast forward to now, where we have lyricists and rappers and musicians and artists who are speaking about social awareness and racial issues and all of this, right? It's a reflection of what we're going through. And I think finding a way, one of the hardest things kind of is finding a bridge to make the music from a long time ago really relevant to the time in which we're living now, so that we're not having to like not do that music, but we're finding a way in which it can be, relevant now. So music represents so much. It represents, for me, an escape. It represents a challenge. It represents just love and appreciation. It represents so many things for me. I mean, livelihood. It represents, community. I could never label it as one thing, but it represents a lot of different things. And being able to, work with current musicians of the current time and to be able to, study some music and learn about composers of the current time and how they approach music and how they're creating art to represent, the times in which we're living now is even more enjoyable and a real treat. So, yeah, a lot of different things, I think, for me.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So this is the last real question. It's a 2-part question, though.
Oh.
So imagine yourself in, like, let's say 3 years or what have you. What do you hope to be different about how you go about your work as a conductor, your work as an artist, as a musician? And with that, what is the arc actually for a conductor? Like, what does that look like? Is it like, all right, 2 years and do you move up? Like, where ultimately, like, where is Naima at in that 3-year period?
That's a good question, but yeah, I mean, that's a great question. First off, hopefully, there's a lot of things that we're doing at Virginia State, forming different programs and really kind of refining things, a new vision for the PSO. I'm new at U of R as a conductor there. So hopefully in a few years, kind of seeing some of the fruits of the labor of really going hard and really kind of new directioning many different things. Yeah. because right now it's like the grind of like the change of pace and really just like changing things completely around everywhere. So my world right now is very like a lot of new beginnings at once. So hopefully the idea of being able to kind of settle in and say, cool, we've created an amazing foundation and now we're boom, boom, boom. Also, there's kind of weird age things with conductors, like I think like 35 for many competitions and things is kind of the cutoff age. So in 3 years, hopefully I've done some competitions because I'm 32. Beyond that, the arc of a conductor, I think it varies depending on what you want to do.
Sure.
I would love to be, there's a lot that comes with being a music director in terms of board meetings and administrative things and, just a lot of that. And then as a guest conductor, there are other things, but being able to travel and work with an orchestra and leave that orchestra and go to another orchestra, and being able to return if you're enjoyed or if you create a relationship like that, being able to see the world and work with ensembles of different cultures and all around. I hope that in 3 years I'll be doing some of that as well. So I don't know. For me, I'm a Gemini, so having take whatever you want from that. I don't know how else to say, but having different experiences to kind of create one life is exciting for me. So It's not that I just want to just teach, or it's not that I just want to music direct or whatever, but being able to kind of create a life of things that I'm passionate about and, kind of pastiching these things together, I think is the ultimate goal for me, and just as many experiences, good experiences as possible.
Thank you. That's I as a fellow air sign, it's just
Thank you.
Aquarius. I get it.
Okay. Okay.
My brother's a Gemini. I'm around y'all. Yeah, I get it. That's actually what I said. It's like, yeah, you get it. It's fine.
You get it. Exactly.
So I got a couple rapid fire questions for you.
Should I drink some water? Okay.
Yeah, please. I'm gonna do the same thing. Gotta be parched. It's like hydrate.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what this is. Some reverse ion water. It's fine. It's the same thing.
Yeah, same.
All right. So let's see. I got 5 of them for you.
All right. Oh man.
Let's see. I'm gonna save that one. I'm gonna save the music question for last. What's the last gift you received?
Last gift?
Yes.
Oh, my percussionist from PSO made me a quilt. And It is so beautiful. She apparently is a quilt maker. She's made thousands of quilts, had no idea. And it's over here. It's all these beautiful musical instruments. It's orange on the inside. And she surprised me for a kind of a late birthday present. But I think that is the last present I've gotten. Yes.
That's amazing. Really cool. That's really cool.
Really cool. Yeah.
The last gift I received is this conversation.
Whoa, fantastic.
Yeah.
Look at
that. So after a big performance, a big concert, what have you, what is the post-performance activity? What do you do that's regenerative? I would imagine it's a lot of energy. It's being expelled. I know when I get on stage and I'm just talking and acting like I know something, I'm like, I'm just a husk of a person afterwards. So what is the regenerative activity for you?
Man, it's so interesting because, after a big performance or something, I'm exhausted, but I'm gone. Like the adrenaline, I don't know what it is. And so it's really the next day that I'm like, right. But the same night of a performance, it's like, I want to be around friends. I want to be around family. I want to, talk to people that were there and hang out and, grab a drink and just enjoy kind of that space, because it's always if it goes well, generally it's a release. Like it's, so much work has been put into it. And it's like this moment of, wow, And then after, it's kind of a bummer if you're just like, all right, that's
Mer.
done. Oh, yeah, I hope to always feel, and I know there are conductors and people who, they're performing every night. And it's just, I hope to always feel a sense of like, wow, like, after performances, I hope I never lose that, because I think it's really a special feeling. And it's something that's so specific to being an artist, like being able to see the product of the hard work and the, just the energy that you put into something. So for me, I like to talk to people and hang out. The next day, it's definitely, let's go for a walk. Let's be a little silent. Let's go enjoy nature. Nature's always my go-to. So we have a ton of trails in Virginia. And so just enjoying the state parks and enjoying the river and those types of things, just to kind of reboot. And oftentimes, like, not listening to music. And if I am listening to music, it's like not the music that I'm conducting or working on. It's definitely going to be different type of music, 100%. So, yeah.
What is one of your nicknames?
Ema.
Okay. Mine's is Rob, which is really lacking.
Rob.
it's no work was done. It was just like, here you go. Here's 3 letters.
Yeah.
And here's the first 3. Enjoy.
I know it. I think my brother created that, Ema. And my grandma and my dad would call me Eam. So Ema or Eam is usually one of them.
Hidden talent. Do you have a hidden talent?
I love to cook. And so my family comes to me for that a lot. It's probably, I'm into culinary things and like gourmet stuff. So maybe
extended.
Yeah, maybe that would be it.
You can't lead with that without saying what a specialty might be. You out there souffleing it? What's going on?
Oh, it depends. It's funny, I have a weird diet now, but so I don't do dairy or gluten. So it's a little mixed, but we do a lot of fish and pastas and, nothing fancy like, crazy decorative plates or anything like that. But we do love to cook when we have time.
Yeah. Lastly, so aside from like classical music and things of the sort, what music are you listening to? You said, it's not the music that you're probably playing. So what music do you listen to?
Oh, I love Alex Isley. I actually got to play on her last album. She's incredible. Ari Lennox, Moonchild. There's so many people. I love so many different genres of music. And oftentimes I'm not. Sometimes I am like in the classical thing. I love to listen to opera. Leontine Price, if I'm in a certain mood, like that's all I want to hear is dramatic opera that just is, blasting from my car on a Saturday errand run or something. But I love vibe music, and I love on Spotify being able to choose an artist you like and then put it on that radio. So you're discovering new artists all the time. But most of what I'm listening to, if I'm not studying, is going to be, something a little bit different than the classical thing.
Yeah, I've been really into this. It's so ridiculous and very much a thing of my age, but I've been doing a deep dive into the soundtrack of Rocky IV. And And I'm appreciating like there's actually instruments playing. I was like, yeah, these horns, this is very much like victory right here.
Yeah.
I was like, give me all of it. And
that's so cool. Yeah. When you realize there's like an actual score, like they're really playing like real instruments. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm just going to like sweat to music. It's great. So with that being said, I want to thank you for coming onto this podcast and invite and encourage you to tell the fine folks where to check you out, where to check out all of the stuff that you're being boom, 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 as you said, all the stuff that you're involved in. The floor is yours.
Cool. My Instagram is at Naima Burrs, just my name. You can find me www.naimaburrs.com as well. So most of my information is there. Old interviews and pictures and blah, blah, blah. But the Instagram, we keep up to date with things that are happening currently. So those are probably the best 2 places to find me.
So there you have it. For Naima Burrs, I'm Rob Lee saying that there's music, culture in and around your neck of the woods. You just got to look for it.